Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we've got a unit about the environment, the world in which we live, and we've got something called heat waves to talk about, which is probably a concern for people. It's September now. It should start getting cooler, but of course, every summer in Taiwan seems to be really, really hot. And if you have a really long period of hot weather where it doesn't seem to go away, we could describe that as a heat wave.
They don't last too long, though, and they disappear after a while, and you just have to kind of grin and bear it when you get those heat waves. Nobody likes them. They appear all over the world, all over the earth. But even in the desert, when it's always hot, when we'd get a heat wave, it would go up, 5-10 degrees, and it was so miserable. But you always know they're going to go away at some point. We're going to talk more about what heat waves are and learn a little bit more about some of these vocabulary words you'll see in connection with weather topics, you can say. Right now, we're going to read through today's lesson.
In recent years, there have been several severe heat wave events worldwide. In 2022, the UK experienced record-breaking temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius, prompting the government to declare a national emergency. In the U.S., California also recorded a high of 45.5 degrees Celsius, leading to wildfires and the evacuation of thousands of people. These events made people feel unbearably hot and sparked discussions and concerns about heat wave phenomena. A heat wave is a period of persistently abnormal high temperatures, often accompanied by higher humidity levels. According to the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, a heat wave is defined as temperatures exceeding the region's average maximum by 5 degrees Celsius or more for at least 5 consecutive days. Heat waves are caused by Earth's high-pressure systems. When a high-pressure system lingers over an area for an extended period, it is known as a heat dome. Within a heat dome, the descending airflow in the high-pressure center prevents warm air from rising. This causes the warm air to become denser and hotter, ultimately affecting the temperature on the ground. Scientists have found that global warming is the primary cause of the increasing frequency of heat waves. As temperatures rise globally, the likelihood of extreme heat events increases. Additionally, urban areas with a high concentration of buildings, roads, and air conditioning units contribute to increased greenhouse gas emissions, leading to higher temperatures in cities than in surrounding areas. This phenomenon, known as the urban heat island effect, further increases the frequency and intensity of heat waves. Okay, it's time now to talk about the phenomenon of heat waves, which I don't really know much about because I'm from a northern state in the United States, like Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Oh, you never? Yes, you had heat waves. Come on.
Oh, well, not really. I mean, it would get hot during the summer, but we never really had heat waves. All I can remember is we had cold spells in the winter.
Wait, we had heat waves in New York City, so I know you'd have heat waves.
Well, I don't seem to remember them too much, but in any case, heat waves are quite common here in Taiwan because it's a subtropical place. And of course, you're going to have high temperatures during the summer especially. So we're talking about rising temperatures and rising concerns. So when the temperature goes up, when it rises, then people get concerned about it. They get worried about it. And we should, because it can be quite dangerous to spend a lot of time in such hot weather.
We have to take care of the vulnerable, that's for sure, especially the elderly and the young. Our little kids, their bodies are so small, they can't really take too much heat at one moment in time either. So those are some things to keep in mind.
Now, in recent years, there have been several severe heat wave events worldwide. So if you've watched the news, you've heard that there are some things going on in the world where the temperature seems to be really high, and it's been happening in various places in the world, probably here in Taiwan as well. And in 2022, the UK experienced record-breaking temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius, prompting the government to declare a national emergency. So this happened a couple of years ago in the UK. Maybe they had high temperatures this year as well. They had record-breaking temperatures, which means it had not been that hot before in different places in England. And they got some degrees or some readings of over 40 degrees Celsius. Now, that's pretty hot. I know I've been here in Taiwan before, and it was like 33 or 34 outside. Ooh, that's really hot. You need to stay in the cool or go to some place that has air conditioning or whatever. But imagine what it would feel like to be in a place with 40-degree temperatures.
Oh, I grew up in a place like that. That's not a big deal. Although I grew up in a desert, so it's not humid. And so it's a little bit easier to take. I think what's really hard, and we're going to find this out pretty soon in the article, is when the temperatures are high and the humidity is high, it's hard to breathe. And it just makes you very sluggish, which means you can't move very fast and it's hard to think. So yeah, it gets to be pretty hot in the desert where I'm from. So we're used to that. But the UK, they don't really have a lot of air conditioning in the UK. I've been there just as a student, but also as a tourist. And even when I was in, where was I? In Scotland. And Scotland's pretty cool normally. There were a couple of hot days and I thought, wow, they don't even have a fan.
Oh, no.
So they're not really prepared for it. So the UK, when they get hot days, it's tough on them. They don't really have air conditioning that's handy for people in their homes. One of my friends lives and works there. She's been there for 30 years. She has a good job, has money, and she doesn't have air conditioning in her home.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that would be a tough one for them. So they're going to remember when temperatures get to 40 degrees.
So that's the condition in the UK, but in the US, specifically in California, they recorded a high of 45.5 degrees Celsius, leading to wildfires and the evacuation of thousands of people. So California had some problems that year. They got a really high temperature here, 45.5 degrees Celsius. And, of course, they had wildfires there, which means there are fires burning, and they're unable to be controlled, and they just burn and burn and burn until maybe it rains or something like that. They finally get put out. And, of course, if people are there in these disaster areas, they have to be evacuated, which means they're moved out of a dangerous situation. So the process of evacuating somebody is evacuation. So they had the evacuation of thousands of people, and then later they could return to where they were from.
They also discovered much later that those wildfires, many of them had been started by arsonists, people who start fires on purpose. So it just made everything worse, of course, people being hot and having to deal with all those fires. Yeah, evacuation is no fun. These events that we've been talking about made people feel unbearably hot. If it's unbearably, you can't even deal with it. You can't endure it much longer. It's awful. And it sparked discussions and concerns about heat wave phenomena. If you spark something, it means you start something. If you're building a fire, what you need is a spark to get something started, to get that flame to grow and become bigger and bigger. And so we use that verb in not a literal way, but a figurative way, just to say it gets something started. It sparked discussions. It sparked debate. You'll often hear us say that too.
Yeah, you could say it triggered discussions, it sparked discussions, it set off discussions, it started discussions. And they were also concerned about this heat wave phenomena, or this thing that happens in nature. And here in the next paragraph, it says, a heat wave, this is the definition of a heat wave is a period of persistently abnormal high temperatures, often accompanied by higher humidity. So we've got persistently abnormal high temperatures. So here, persistently is the adverb form of the word persistent, which means it just keeps on going and going without stopping. Okay, some people are very persistent. If they want your attention, they just keep calling you. They just keep bothering you. They're persistent. They don't give up. And so we've got persistently high temperatures, and these are abnormal temperatures, which means they aren't normal. They're higher than the average. And, of course, you could also have abnormal low temperatures, maybe during the winter someplace.
Persistent doesn't have to be negative, though. If you're persistent in accomplishing or achieving your goals, it means you don't give up easily. You keep working at them. Here, abnormal. Usually, if you see that word abnormal, it's negative. Abnormal behavior. Things that people do that we're not used to seeing. But these are abnormally high temperatures or abnormal high temperatures. You could use either word there. And they're often accompanied by higher humidity levels. I think I mentioned that earlier. It's tougher when the heat is so bad. And you also have to deal with humidity. To accompany means to go along with something or to go along with somebody. Maybe you want to be accompanied by your good dog when you go to the park. Or you want to ask a friend to accompany you to the movies or to a play that you're going to go see together. Here it just means something is present or occurring along with something else at the same time. So you've got high temperatures and high humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor or gas that's in the air. So it's just a little heavier feeling. When it rains, it always makes the air feel so heavy to me.
Indeed, and of course, humidity, as you said, is referring to the amount of water vapor in the air. We express that as a percentage. What's the relative humidity today? Oh, it's 90% or whatever. And according to the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, a heat wave is defined as temperatures exceeding the region's average maximum by 5 degrees Celsius or more for at least 5 consecutive days. Now, here we've got the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO. Now, I don't suggest that you all try to pronounce this word. It's not necessary. I had difficulty pronouncing this word. You do hear the word meteorology more often. That's the study of weather, basically. You have scientists who try to predict the weather, and those are meteorologists, and that's what they try to do. So we've got this weather organization, the WMO, and they've given us a definition of what a heat wave is. It's temperatures that are above the average by 5 degrees, and these temperatures last for more than 5, or at least 5 consecutive days. Consecutive means one after the other without interruption.
Yeah, one summer in New York, we were practicing for a show. There was no air conditioning in the room. We were dancing, and we had over a week of temperatures over 100 degrees. So that's a lot for New York City.
In
Usually,
Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah. So it gets to be unbearable sometimes when you combine the high temperatures with the humidity, and New York City is always humid. According to this WMO, that's how they are defining a heat wave. In Arizona, where I grew up, we'll have a heat wave if we even have 2 or 3 days when the temperature is so high you can cook an egg on the sidewalk. Yes, or burn your fingers just touching the steering wheel in your car. So heat waves are caused by Earth's high-pressure systems. If you listen to weather reports on the news and you're listening to these meteorologists, they'll often talk about how a high-pressure system is coming in or a low-pressure system is coming in. That's how they sort of predict what the weather's going to do. We're going to talk more about this, guys, but right now we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师，今天讲解的是9月11号 Unit 7 Heat Waves, Rising Temperatures, Rising Concerns. 好，这是第一天的课程。这个单元要带着大家更认识我们所生存的环境，介绍热浪现象。第一天内容包括热浪的定义、成因，并且解释为什么近年来有越来越多热浪，热浪越来越严重。好，我们一起来看学习重点吧。第一段用4个句子带出全文要讨论的主题热浪 heat waves， 而且这当中包含了2个国家的实际案例。第2个句子是英国，第3个句子是美国。大家如果仔细看这2个句子的结构非常相似，我们可以看到第一个句子所用的动词是 experience， 用来表示2022年英国出现破纪录的高温，超过摄氏40度。 prompting 开始的分词构句，告诉读者这样异常高温的现象造成什么后果，也就是政府宣布紧急状态。而下一个句子结构相当类似，指出美国加州也出现高温现象，所用的动词是 recorded， 用来表示美国气温高达摄氏 45.5 度。逗点后面一样是分词构句，表示高温引发的后果，包括森林大火，还有成千上万的民众被迫疏散 evacuation。 好，那接着第二段先对热浪提出定义，第一句是作者自己的解释，第二句则是引用世界气象组织 WMO 比较严谨的定义。这个定义的意思是某个地区气温至少连续5天超过最高平均温度摄氏5度以上。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, we're talking about heat waves, and where we left off, we were talking about the definition according to the WMO, which is the World Meteorological Organization. Again, it's defining a heat wave as being a period or prolonged period of high temperatures that last for at least 5 consecutive days, and then the temperature will be 5 degrees more than the average. I did want to mention that when we talk about the temperature in a specific place, everybody knows what system we're using, okay? So if you're in New York and you say it's 90 degrees outside, you don't need to say it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit today because everybody in New York knows that it is Fahrenheit. You don't need to mention it. And same thing here. What's the temperature today? Oh, it's 33 degrees Celsius. No, you don't need to say Celsius because everybody knows it's already Celsius.
And sometimes we don't even say degrees. If someone says, hey, what's the temp outside? What's the temperature? Somebody will go, it's 100. It's 90. Whatever. It's 117, which is a bad day in Arizona. Yeah, so notice that you don't have to put the Celsius. We always do here. I think just to make it clear to our learners, our listeners, that it's not Fahrenheit we're talking about, because 5 degrees Fahrenheit is really cold. Or even if something goes up by 5 degrees Fahrenheit, it's not a big deal. So anyway, that's how we define a heat wave, and they're caused by Earth's high pressure systems. We talked about when these high pressure systems linger or stay around. If something lingers, it doesn't just disappear immediately. We'll use it when we'll talk about bad smells in the house. Ooh, that smell is lingering. Do we have anything to spray and make it go away? It'll linger or stay over an area for an extended period. Extended can mean different things depending on how you're using it. Can mean to be spread out over an area or the scope of something. The length of our project has been extended, so the time has been extended. This is known as a heat dome. It's like someone took a lid that you put on a pot that you're cooking with and just stuck it over your area, and it doesn't let that hot air escape.
Right. It's kind of like people who believe the world is flat. They have this dome over the world that keeps the air in. That's kind of like a half sphere, basically. So this is known as a heat dome. And within a heat dome, the descending airflow in the high pressure center prevents warm air from rising. So if something's descending, it's going down. We've got descending airflow, which means the air is coming down. Airflow just refers to the flow of air, the current of air in this particular area. And this, as a result, prevents warm air from rising. So the warm, hot air is stuck close to the ground and things just don't cool off. That's when you're hoping it's going to start raining soon.
Yeah, no kidding. You really do hope it will start raining. And even in the summer here, when it gets really hot, the rain makes it even more humid, but it still cools it down a little bit, right? So we are wanting that dome to lift up. So that's the heat dome and the descending airflow in the high pressure center to get lost, to go away. It's causing or it's preventing the warm air from rising or just leaving the area. As I said, escaping. This causes the warm air to become denser and hotter, ultimately affecting the temperature on the ground. And if you're in a city and there are a lot of, sidewalks and roads and buildings, and there's not a lot of green parks and just green land around, it's even hotter.
Right, so that's what a heat wave is. That's the definition here. So hopefully we won't get caught in heat waves too often. And scientists have found that global warming is the primary cause of the increasing frequency of heat waves. Now, of course, this is controversial. Of course, some people don't believe in global warming, but I think most people could recognize that this phenomenon is getting more and more common. Some people say, well, it's caused by human activity. Some people say, no, it has nothing to do with that. But in any case, we do have more and more of these heat waves going on. And as temperatures rise globally, the likelihood of extreme heat events increases. The likelihood here just refers to how likely or how possible something is going to happen. So yes, the likelihood of these heat events now is increasing because of these changing weather patterns.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. A likelihood. What's the likelihood of you getting home in time for dinner tonight? So you can use this in your everyday life. That's a great word to use. So additionally, back to the article, urban areas, those are city areas, with a high concentration of buildings, roads, and air conditioning units contribute to increased greenhouse gas emissions. Contribute to just means you're giving to something. You can contribute to an area's violence by being violent yourself. You can contribute to a charity by donating your time and money. Here you're contributing to increased greenhouse gas emissions. Emission means to be let out from something, right? So in the back of your car, you've got a pipe, a long pipe, and it will emit dirty air and dirty emissions gas, a discharge of some sort. It's not very healthy for people who are outside. That's an emission. So it's the production and discharge of something like gas or radiation even. And that can lead to higher temperatures in cities than in surrounding areas. You want to live closer to a park or where there's a green space. You'll feel the difference in the heat. Even when I go out to Mujia, and I live in Taipei in the city area, in the center of the city, even when I go to Mujia, it feels cooler.
Yeah, my mother-in-law said something similar to that. She said that when she was younger, growing up in Taiwan, it was hot in the summer, but not as hot as it is now. So something is happening. It could have to do with the urbanization, building more and more buildings, but fewer and fewer trees. So it can feel hotter and hotter in the city. And, of course, that can lead to these heat domes or these, what are we calling these? Heat waves. Heat waves.
Yeah.
And that can, of course, lead to problems, which we'll talk about in our next lesson. But, again, this is a phenomenon that is going on in various places in the world. And, again, we've got these greenhouse gas emissions, gases going up into the atmosphere. And, of course, this might result in higher temperatures in cities than in surrounding areas. So if it's hot in Taipei, head to Mujia or Yamingshan or whatever city you're in. Head to the hills because it will be cooler there. And again, this phenomenon known as the urban heat island effect further increases the frequency and intensity of heat waves. So again, we're calling this the urban heat island effect. An island, of course, is a body of land in the middle of water. Of course, Taiwan is an island. Hainan is an island as well. And if this is a heat island, that means you've got heat in the middle of an area that has lower temperatures. So the heat is concentrated in a certain area, but it's cooler around that central area. Okay, we're at the end of our lesson for today. It's time now to listen to our very cool Chinese teacher.
从第3句开始，文章从科学的角度告诉我们热浪的成因，地球高压系统 Earth's High Pressure System 造成热浪。大家要特别注意，在学测的阅读测验当中，科学性的文章常常会请同学找出里面所提出的术语、专有名词，大家要能够知道这个正确的定义是什么。比方说第4句里面的 heat dome 热穹顶，那它正确的定义呢 我们要从文章里面找出来，就是高压系统在某个地区长时间滞留 High pressure system lingers over an area for an extended period。 再来，也要请同学特别注意文章当中的因果关系。请看这里的第5和第6句。第5句提到在热穹顶当中，高压中心的下沉气流 descending airflow 会导致暖空气无法上升，进而产生什么结果呢？请看第6句，暖空气密度增加，温度升高，最终影响地面气温。在阅读测验当中就很有可能会有4个选项，提供4幅不一样的图片，会让同学去找出哪个图片最能够解释什么原因造成地表气温升高，所以请特别注意因果关系的句子。那再来我们看第3段，大家读到这里会不会觉得很困惑？第2段不是已经交代热浪形成的原因了吗？为什么还要再解释一次？同学要看仔细一点，这一段呢是要交代为什么热浪出现的频率增加了。根据第3段有2个原因，第一个原因也是主要原因是全球暖化，在第1段第1个句子Global warming is the primary cause of the increasing frequency of heat waves. 再来，第2个原因是都市热岛效应 The urban heat island effect further increases the frequency and intensity of heat waves. 以上呢，这篇文章就是在解释热浪现象。文章的结构相当的清楚，那如同老师前面所解释的，先从新闻事件作为实际的案例，再带出热浪这个主题。紧接着呢，作者解释热浪何以形成。那第3段就在解释说，为什么最近的热浪的频率还有强度都增加了。那同学阅读完文章以后啊，其实可以试着用心智图画出整篇文章的组织架构。如果画得出来，就表示其实你已经充分了解文章的内容了。之后自己在写作的时候呢，其实可以试着反向操作，自己呢先从一个心智图或者大纲反推回去，写出这些主题句啊，还有支持的句子，一定可以写出组织完整而且架构相当严谨的英文作文，可以获得高分。好，以上是我们针对热浪这一个课程第1天内容所做的中文讲解。See you next time.
That's all the time we have for today, everybody, but we're going to continue talking about heat waves in our next program, especially when they kind of affect the health of people and the health of the elderly and the handicapped and children and things like that. So that's a very important consideration that we'll address in our next lesson. Please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Bye.
Bye.